So tonight, I've got my delayed reaction to the big trade that went down a little bit earlier in the day. And of course, I'm not talking about Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers, talking about the other big star in Dallas, Micah Parsons, who got dealt to the Green Bay Packers a little bit earlier in the day. I'm going to summarize all of this for you right now based on what I believe Jerry Jones is. I believe Jerry Jones, at the end of the day, is an optimist. I believe that Jerry Jones actually thought at the last minute he was still going to be able to get a deal done with Micah Parsons. But when Micah Parsons pretended to go to the airport claiming he was going to go get a second opinion about his back being bad, the nail was officially in the coffin. Look, the Dallas Cowboys certainly could have done a deal before the NFL draft. They could have done a deal 4 weeks ago when Micah Parsons announced that he wanted to be traded in the first place. The fact that they waited to the very last minute to actually get a deal done from a trade perspective is why they actually only ended up with 2 first-round draft picks, which if the Green Bay Packers play as well as their fans think they're going to play with Micah Parsons on their team, those draft picks are essentially early second-round draft picks. Look, Jerry Jones clearly is an optimist. He believed, I guarantee it, that he was actually going to be able to get this deal done with Micah Parsons and would not actually be forced to have to trade him. But once that decision was finally made that he had to trade him, he did the best that he could possibly do. I held a press conference a little bit earlier in the day, and I was going to play some clips for you, but I decided, why do that? I'll just summarize it. Basically, Jerry got up there, and Stephen Jones brought a bottle of water with him, which he immediately started drinking at the very start of the press conference. Jerry, at the very start, went on to basically say that the Dallas Cowboys are better off today than they were before they had Micah Parsons on their team. In other words, the team is better without Micah Parsons, which of course none of us actually believe. He then went on to talk about the deal that brought Kenny Clark to the team, the defensive tackle who is now entering his 10th year in the NFL. Kenny Clark, at best, is a 3rd or maybe 4th round draft pick at this point. It's fair to say that Kenny Clark started skiing down the backside of Career Mountain last year, and he's passed the chalet on the way down the hill. That's not to say Kenny Clark's not a great player or wasn't a great player at some point during his career. It's just simply to say his career is winding down at this point. So Jerry tries, during the press conference, of course, to make the argument that the Dallas Cowboys are better off today without Micah Parsons than they were when they had Micah Parsons. He tries to talk about the 2 first-round draft picks as if they are early first-round draft picks. He tries to make the argument to everybody out there that this is a good and positive move for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm telling you right now, Jerry Jones is an optimist. He's taking the situation at hand and he's trying to actually spin it in a way that will hopefully make the Dallas Cowboys fans feel better about what actually went down. Now, we all know about that famous Herschel Walker trade, and the trade where essentially the Minnesota Vikings ultimately gave up like 13 players for Herschel Walker, which of course built the 1990s Dallas Cowboy dynasty, if you can call it that, during the mid-90s. So Jerry was an optimist back then with that particular deal, and he's certainly trying to be an optimist today with the deal that actually just went down. Now, how will this all play out for the Green Bay Packers? Are the Packer fans already trying to figure out how much a hotel's going to cost in the San Francisco Bay Area in February, where the Super Bowl is actually going to be played? The answer to that question is absolutely yes. And of course, we all know that that's premature. We also know it's premature to think that the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to have a good season. I think oftentimes people don't give the Jones family and Jerry Jones enough credit for what they've actually done. So outside of the mid-90s, they have had other stretches of the last 30 years where the Dallas Cowboys had viable Super Bowl contending football teams. Now, of course, we all know that they haven't taken that step forward beyond being a viable Super Bowl contender. But the Jones family, the Dallas Cowboy organization, and Jerry Jones, to some extent, know what they're doing when it comes to player personnel. How else can you explain 3 years in a row of 12-5, 12-5, and 12-5 with Mike McCarthy as your head coach? Look, at the end, when it's all said and done, this Micah Parsons trade, the decision to not be willing to pay Micah Parsons $47 million a year by the Dallas Cowboys is exactly what this was all about. For whatever reason, they decided they were better off as an organization only paying Micah probably $41 or $42 million a year. And for the rest of us out there that don't live in Jerry Jones's billion-dollar bubble, it's hard for us to understand that. Even when Jerry Jones, being the ultimate optimist, comes out and holds a press conference and attempts to tell the Cowboys fans that everything's going to be okay, that is all part of what Jerry Jones calls a soap opera. And to be totally clear, the reason that they probably didn't do this deal a long time ago, outside of Jerry Jones being an optimist, is because Jerry Jones operates in a world in which the bottom line of the Dallas Cowboy organization actually being part of the media message day in and day out is far more important than actually winning a Super Bowl. And that, my friends, is the reality that Dallas Cowboy fans have to live with at this point. All right, for the Nationals NFL rundown, as always, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.